Welcome in the DNVR Avalanche Podcast on a Friday the 13th. We've got AJ, we've got Biggie, we've got Rudo coming to you live. We figured a day for talking about the most cursed moments in Colorado Avalanche history. I don't know. It'll probably be painful. That's usually what it ends up being. But it'll be interesting to talk about that. I don't really believe in curses. I don't know. That's not a thing, in my opinion. But there are definitely still some cursed moments. So we'll have plenty of those to talk to. Before we get into all that, some other interesting topics are going around, including Game 4 last night was crazy. And this Stanley Cup final has been fantastic. Now, part of that is Florida has straight up choked 2 games. But, credit to Edmonton for pulling off those comebacks. Leon Draisaitl scores the game winner in overtime on some actual nonsense that makes no sense to anybody. But you know what? I'm down. I'm down for this series to go 7. At least the hockey is good, even if it's 2 teams I don't care all that much about.
Well, when you're that close to winning the whole thing, no one's going to lay down and die. No one is. It's too hard. I said it the other day. You saw the moment. McDavid last year, just crushed after Game 3 and crushed after Game 7. No one's rolling over. You got 2 good teams. I mean, I don't care what people say. Like Edmonton, they might not be my favorite. But man, oh man, they've won some big games this spring. Holy cow. You know what I mean? Their top guys are going to get 30-plus points again. Yeah, yesterday they couldn't do anything. They couldn't solve the Panthers the first 20 minutes. Panthers were rolling. That power play was disgusting. It was unbelievable. One touch pass after another one touch pass. It was incredible. And then, the period 2 starts and it's the opposite. You know what I mean? It's the opposite. Then all of a sudden, again, power plays have a lot to do with that. I don't think at 5-on-5 yesterday either team was all their spikes of like momentum all came from those power plays, right? And when they cashed in and, Skinner, I thought he was decent, but then, he didn't make the saves he needed to make. I mean, at some point you give up 3, and that was the right call to switch to pick. But then Bobrovsky too. He wasn't at his best. I love Bobrovsky, but he, there's 1 or 2 that you're like, And you know what? Both teams showed resilience. They come back, and the Panthers are like stunned because now they're down 4-3, and then they score with what is it, 20, 18 seconds, whatever it was, 17 seconds left in the game, and then you're going overtime, and anything can happen. We all know in overtime, anything can happen, and you hit. Sure enough, I mean, MVP Sam Bennett probably scores there, wins the Conn Smythe. You know what I mean? Absolutely, because that series is over at 3-1. There's no way. And no, it goes down the other way a few minutes later, and it's, nothing burger play by Draisaitl, and then it goes off a leg, and you're like, you knew that's what was going to happen. It was going to go off someone's leg, and fantastic hockey, and I'm excited. It's fun. I'm excited that there's another game tomorrow. I don't have to wait a couple days. Guys will be beat to death tomorrow. They'll be dead from the travel and all that stuff. But who cares? It's great hockey, and I'm excited. And good old friend Calvin Pickard, the one that got away, Calvin Pickard. God bless him. I love him. Such a good guy. What a great story. This is great. It's great. It's fun to watch. I was actually sitting there pulling for the old fella. Love him.
I have 2 questions mostly about this series. The first one is about Edmonton and Calvin Pickard. Do you start him Game 5?
100%.
Look,
100%.
Yeah, just a hard yes.
Easy.
Okay.
100.
Yeah, not even.
Hard yes.
I'm not thinking about it at all.
Let's put it this way.
I'm down.
Nothing against Stuart Skinner. You guys know that. I told you guys I actually like the story, and he's just not my type. Like Bob is my style, even though, I'm a bigger fella. You know what I mean? Like maybe I should like Skinner better, but I think he looks like an awesome dude, awesome human being. He's not my favorite goalie. 100%. I said it. I was with Ty and Max last night. I'm like, you got to put the good old Calvin in the net. Yeah, that's your shot. That's your chance. Or it's not going to go well if you stick that way. And then as soon as the game ended, I'm like, And Max is looking at me. He's like, "Is Pitt gonna freaking play game 5, 6, 7 of the Stanley Cup Final?" I was like, "Absolutely, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, and he's gonna be in there. And if he's not in there, this is not a bone to pick with Stuart Skinner. Then Edmonton might be toast. You have to write that. Pick is 7-0 right now. What are the odds? You know what I mean? Like it is Pick, right? Looking for jobs in the American League the last few years, and you know what I mean. We all know him from Avs land because of we had drafted him and we developed him, and awesome person. He's still playing. It's a great story because it's like perseverance shows good things happen to good people. He's a good person. He's not a big piece of the puzzle until he is, right? You know what I mean? Like, because that's kind of what he is now. All of a sudden, they're like, oh man, he's got to take a bigger bite now of the piece of the pie. You know what I mean? And he's ready for it, and you can tell he's ready for it, and you can tell the guys are loving it. So yeah, for me, 100%, he's going back in. 100. I'm almost convinced. I don't think it's even a subject of conversation. I think he is in.
All right. I mean, I'm down. I don't think you can really justify continuing to start Skinner. Not that. Look, I've been on the meme train on Skinner for a while, but I don't think he's actually been quite as awful as it looks, at least in the finals. I think there's been a lot of defensive issues there too. But at the same time, he's also given you an 860 so far through 4 games in the Cup final. I don't know how you can keep running that out there and blame anybody but yourself. I'll put it to you that way. Pickard also has yet to lose a game in the playoffs. Whatever
7-0.
Yep. So.
And he takes one, and he takes over a game that he's down 0-3. Right? I'm just saying, and he wins that one. Love it. It's great.
Yeah. From an Avs perspective, it's certainly an interesting storyline to see Pickard in there. But yeah, it's my other question on the series is, who do you give the Conn Smythe to? I one from either team, because on Edmonton's side, it would be funny if you gave it to Pickard. That'd be a great story. You're not doing that. The question is, do you give it to Draisaitl or do you give it to McDavid?
Draisaitl.
You think so? Just straight up clean because of the overtime goals and things like that?
Yeah, and he's got the two winners in the Cup final, and
Sure.
And Bennett on Florida. I think they're both obvious choices right now with 3 games left. I don't know who else I would give it to on Florida right now. And Edmonton, I would say it's Draisaitl, but if McDavid does some nuclear level insane stuff in these next couple of games, then
yeah,
I'm not slamming the door on it, but I don't see how it's not one of those 3 guys at the end of this.
Yeah, I agree. For me, at Edmonton, again, Draisaitl's been dynamite. He had a dynamite season, as we know. Should have won the Hart Trophy, but that's okay. That's a different conversation. Is he in the contention for the Conn Smythe? Absolutely. I think a lot has to do with game 5, 6, 7 for me. If McDavid takes over 5, 6, 7, he gets it. If they go neck and neck and they both play good, I think Draisaitl gets it. And on the other side, of course, again, I think Sammy Bennett. He doesn't hit that post yet, so he's already got it wrapped up, because I think they would have wrapped that one up in 5. That's how close playoffs are. We all saw with the Avalanche. You're one shot away in overtime from taking control of a series. When you don't, it can bite you in the behind. We will see. We shall see. Now it's a 2 out of 3 with home ice to Edmonton. I don't think it really matters to the Florida Panthers home ice, but they're so good on the road. But those guys are. Even Bob probably can slide in there. If Bob goes 5, 6, 7, he's outstanding, then you never know. But it'd be hard pressed. I mean, the Bennett train is real right now. Everybody's on it, and everybody's hyping it. So on the Florida side of things, I would think that I agree. It's just probably between those 3 guys, with Bob kind of hanging on and climbing in like, I'm here. But we'll see.
It's the best of 3 left. You both picked Edmonton at the start of the series. We sticking to our guns, or do we think things change?
Yeah, it's Edmonton.
No, I agree with AJ. I think it's their year. I mean, a game like yesterday, it's not normal. You know what I mean? Like, I think AJ, did you tweet that Team of Destiny or somebody did?
Mm-hmm.
One of you guys, right? Yep. Yeah, no, but I agree. That's what I'm saying. It's like you almost went to bed after one yesterday because you're like, nah, this is a nothing burger game. I mean, this is going to be like the game before. It's going to be 6-7 nothing. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden you're like, you just claw back in, and it's hard, and then it's heartbreaking that on the road, the home team scores in the last 20 seconds, and same thing. You could have easily, you know what I mean, been buried, but no, you're still there. So I think it'll be hard pressed to bet against Edmonton right now, even though, boy, oh boy, is Florida well built, and man, when they're on their game, they're beautiful to watch. They were so beautiful to watch again yesterday. So we'll see what happens. I think power plays have a lot to do with all that, because if you look at the game yesterday, the spikes or whatever you want to call that of momentum all came from the power plays, right? You know what I mean? It all came, and that Nugent Hopkins goals, I was sick. That was so much needed, because Florida was just unbelievable on their power play. Bang, bang, bang. All of a sudden, Edmonton did the same. It's like, all right, we can have that same type of period, and it's exactly what they did. They just duplicated the same period that Florida had in the first, and it started with the power play. So, I think both goalies will be busy. I believe it will be Calvin against Bob, and I think that a guy like Calvin, I'm going back to him, like, you know how powerful that is? Like, I understand it's Calvin, and he is what he is, and nobody would pick him out of 32 teams right now to go play a Stanley Cup series with. 100%, they'd be lying to you teams, right? We all know that. But the vibe he's bringing right now is unbelievable, and sometimes it's exactly what a team needs. And I'll tell you one thing, I don't know. I mean, I was like, there's no way he's getting beat. Yesterday he got beaten in those 15 seconds, whatever it was. Even though I like the goalie to play differently, probably there, but still, I mean, it hits the post on Bennett, right? It's I think everything's behind him to make a Hollywood ending, and yeah, I'm sticking to Edmonton. Again, if Calvin's in, I can't believe I'm saying that.
Hey, you gotta put your best lineup out there. So
I love it.
You got to do what you got to do on that front. I do want to shift gears a little bit here before we get into it. Make sure you're heading over to DNVR.com. Go become a diehard. AJ the other day just put out his big old trade piece about a bunch of the options the Avs have, listing no less than 7 different players the Avs could potentially trade for varying types of deals over this offseason. I won't spoil the whole piece, but yeah, go check that out if you haven't. We'll talk about it a little bit here on the show too. Not the whole thing, we can't spoil it all, but it's pretty interesting ideas AJ's got over in there if you become a diehard and read the piece. Of course, becoming a diehard also supports us. You can give us a little bit of money so we can live, things like that. You also get a free shirt when you become an annual diehard. You get a bunch of discounts at the bar, at our merch store, and a whole bunch of other stuff too. So go check that out. Go become a DNVR diehard today. And then since I'm paying bills, we might as well pay a few more bills while we're at it here. So let's just make sure we're doing that too. Of course, we've got a few sponsors, including Raising Cane's. Go jump in with Raising Cane's today. If you're heading out on your next road trip, you can order at raisingcanes.com or use the Cane's mobile app to satisfy your chicken finger fix in a snap. At Raising Cane's, every chicken finger is hand-battered and cooked to order, every crinkle-cut fry is crispy and perfectly salted, and every piece of Texas toast is buttered to perfection. Of course, all of that is made just that much better by Cane sauce that is made in restaurant each day. It's ready to be dipped in, whether it's the chicken fingers, the toast, you name it. They've got it all. They've even got coleslaw, if that's your thing. Are you hungry yet? If you are, get your order today at Cane's and keep the road trip going. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. And once you're refueled on some Raising Cane's, make sure you're also going out there enjoying life. Look, I know we all sit around and watch sports all the time. You can also play some sports when it comes to Volo. Volo is Denver's most popular provider of adult social sports leagues, pickup games, and events. They offer a ton of sports, including soccer, volleyball, pickleball, kickball, basketball, cornhole, and many more. You can play all over Denver, whether it's Lodo, Rhino, Highland, City Park, Cherry Creek, South Broadway. There's also more in the entire Denver metro area. And even if you are in a different city, if you're of a reasonable size, you can get yourself into a Volo League local to you. So jump in. A great way to meet new people, make friends, and be social. Players can sign up as a free agent, a small group, or full team, and all ability levels and backgrounds are welcome to join. Use code DNVR10 when you're over at Volo to get $10 off any Volo Denver League. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. AJ, I want to give you the floor here since you wrote the piece. Again, you don't have to spoil the whole thing. I'll save some of the spicier ones especially, but give me the guy you think is most likely to be traded by the Colorado Avalanche this offseason.
Well, hold on, AJ. Before I'm going to take the floor, I just want, because you just read an ad on Volo.
I did.
Just want to let you know that, yeah, there's a big Volo like playground there by where I live in the east, and just so you guys know, like I was walking by yesterday and I was grabbing a coffee and it's like, you know, pickleball courts and volleyball courts and everything. And it was like the Beatles walking through the crowd, you know, people were chasing me, you know what I mean? Because they were like, we heard you're a free agent. And, you know, so everybody wanted to draft me for volleyball courts yesterday. Just want to let you know. So anyway, move on to your piece. But I just want to let you know that pays to you know, to be around Volo, because worldwide they recognize me like the Beatles. They want me on the volleyball court. So
free agent. You make more money in NHL free agency or Volo free agency?
No, definitely Volo. Definitely Volo, because I never made it to free agency. So
we'll talk about that in a little bit too. Yeah.
All right, floor's yours, AJ.
To answer your question, I think it's two guys that I would say I would single out as most likely, but for different reasons. The first one is Miles Wood. It just wasn't a very good year for him. Right now, that $2.5 million feels onerous, given the kind of season he was and the absolute train wreck of the one appearance that he had in the playoffs. So that's tough. I also mentioned this in the piece, but trading a guy at the nadir of his value is always bad business. Right now, Miles Wood, between the contract and exactly, and the year that he had, it's not like teams are going to be calling Colorado up, like banging down the door, like, oh, hey, what's up with that Miles Wood though? You know, like there's going to have to be some massaging of the reputation there. There's going to have to be a specific reason that happens. It's not going to be like what teams are doing, calling up about Sam Girard and Charlie Coyle going, hey, so those guys are pretty good. We think they could help us quite a bit. The other guy though is I have listed out as Josh Manson. I think that the injuries play a big role in it, but I also think that 1 year left at $4.5 million is it's a lot easier for teams to just
pretty palatable.
Teams always teams always have more interest in guys that are on that 1 year deal like that, because if it doesn't go well, then they're just done. And if like it doesn't go well with Miles Wood, they've got 3 more seasons after that, right? If it doesn't go well with Sam Girard, they have another season. And so I think that's the like sweet spot with Manson, but for all the reasons that the Avs would want to move on from Manson, very penalty prone, availability is a problem, getting up there in age, the body is starting to really break down after a lot of hard minutes playing a rugged play style in the NHL. Those are all the reasons that teams would be hesitant to reach out about Manson. What does work in Colorado's favor is it's a really bad market for defensemen, for free agent defensemen. So you can't just willy-nilly go into the market and get a guy like that. And that makes a guy like Manson more valuable. The problem is that it also makes that guy more valuable to Colorado. Because you don't just get rid of Josh Manson and then your problems are solved. You have to replace him on your defense.
Yeah.
You have to then, okay, well, he's not there. You need a solution. Yeah, at the moment there isn't a guy there. Then right now you're talking about a third pairing of Keaton Middleton and Sam Malinsky.
Yep.
Sam Girard doesn't even have a partner. Or you're talking about a second pairing of Sam Girard, Sam Malinsky. You run the Sams, and your third pairing is Keaton Middleton and blank space. I feel like a third pairing with only one player on it is not going to be super effective.
You don't want to run 13-5 this season? Come on.
I don't. So I think that's the struggle with Manson, is that you look at the $4 million and go, boy, that would really help. But then you have to find somebody to play in that role. And think of a solid but unspectacular defensive defenseman, and I will tell you right now that is available in free agency right now, or is available on the trade market. And right now, I will tell you, his contract model or his actual contract will be right in the range of $4.5 million. That's the sweet spot for that kind of guy. That's why Manson makes it. That's why a lot of those guys make it. So you've got to find a value somewhere, and that's one reason why the conversation about Sam Girard has been what it has been. It's not that the Avs even want to trade him. It's not that he's a bad player. He's not. I wrote in my piece, however you feel about Sam Girard today, you've probably felt that way for a long time, because Sam Girard's game has not really evolved. He's just gotten better at what he's always been good at. He has continued to struggle at the things that he's not good at, and will always struggle in, because he's a tiny little fella. Like, Sam Girard is who he is. He's valuable for the things he does well. He transports pucks. He goes from defense to offense really well. I always kind of bag on his point production, but I never really give him full credit, because he does most of that. He creates most of his offense at 5v5, because he does not play heavy power play minutes in Colorado. That's where I think he could have a really like hidden high value to another team, is that he could run a team's top power play unit. And obviously shooting the puck isn't ever going to be a strength, but he's got really good vision. He's a really slick playmaker. That's a guy, and you could easily just bam. Now he's there. You add 10 or 15 power play assists to a guy, and you're looking at, oh, now he's a 38 to 40 point player, like somewhere in that range. Ha-ha! Right? Like, then you feel very differently about his value as an offensive guy. But he struggles along the wall. He struggles in front of his own net. Just is who he is. That's life.
There's no solving that. Yeah.
Exactly. And how the Avalanche like to play, he's very valuable. The thing with him, though, is that of these guys that we were talking about, he's the most valuable. Teams will give up the most assets for him.
I would say by far, yeah.
But again, the same conversation with Manson, replacing him will be very difficult, and it will not be cheap. So whatever you're getting in return for Girard, one of those things had better be a cost-efficient player, and then some other assets that you're going to need to move on from. And I think that's the real rub there. $5 million is just not that much money when you're going to very likely have to spend at least $3 million to replace him. So you're then in this fantasy hypothetical situation, you've saved $2 million, and then you have whatever assets that you have in from the trade.
Yeah.
All of that is really tough, because it's hard to replace him, and it just leaves you in a bad spot. Because then what are you doing on your defense? Is Sam Malinsky ready to elevate to a second pairing? I don't think so.
That's the big rub for me. I don't know that he's ready to elevate for a second pairing, but if you're moving on from Girard, maybe the answer is, hey, can Sam Malinsky give us 80% of what Sam Girard was giving us? And then we can just live with making other parts of our lineup better.
And that, I think, is true. I think you could probably get 80% of Sam Girard out of Sam Malinsky. Girard at $5 million, Sam Malinsky right now contract model has him at 1.5 over 2 years. That's a huge savings. That's a huge value. And then whatever you trade Girard for, okay, great. Because then you're talking about a puck mover going out, and then you're getting whatever, and then you're spending money, you're saving money here and there, and Malinsky kind of takes over in that capacity, right? Yep. When we talk about trading for Manson, you're still putting yourself in the archetype of you need to replace that, or you're still putting yourself in the box of you need to replace that archetype. You need to replace that, the as Eric calls him, the whiskey drinker, the more hard-nosed guy. You can't be that easy to play against. You can't go out and get another puck mover if you move on from Josh Manson. You need to bring that jam. You need to bring sandpaper. You need to be a little bit tougher to play against, which frankly is also one of the criticisms of keeping both Sams.
Yeah. Two smaller puck moving non-typical guys.
But you're gonna need, even with all that, like it leads me to what I said the other day. Forget about the type of player, but you're gonna need a Nate Smith. Forget about the comparison to the player. You're going to need to go find a veteran guy at 900. You just are. Is it a more physical one, a better skate? I don't know, but a Nate Smith, you're going to have to go find.
They're going to have to find. The hard part is that this class is so bad that the guys that you would conceive of, it's like you're really sort of hoping that Pittsburgh doesn't give POJ a qualifying offer. That kind of thing, like that type of guy where you're like, you could see the upside. Can you get Billy Heinola out of Winnipeg, who clearly doesn't believe that he's good to go, that they're not going to make use of him, like that kind of thing? Can you get that type of guy? Or as Eric mentioned, is there going to be a guy that gets bought out? Is there going to be a guy that unexpectedly hits free agency that, because Florida did it 2 years ago with OEL. This last season they did it with Nate Schmidt. Can they get that type of guy? The market is not flushed with very many of them, which means that just inherently their value is going to be a lot higher. But that's where the Avs are like, they really need it, and the bad class really hurts their chances to find that value.
Yeah. Especially on that defensive side, the class is very, very thin this year. Look, the names we're throwing around as guys the Avs might possibly trade aren't a big surprise, or shouldn't be a big surprise. We've talked about all of these guys multiple times this offseason. My next question in this scenario, though, I guess not in real life, as it is currently for the Avs, how much, if at all, does the Logan O'Connor injury change the approach of the Avs this offseason?
Frankly, the only thing it really does is give them a little bit of breathing room through December.
Okay.
That's about it, because right now, if you add in Logan O'Connor's LTIR money at the start of the regular season, like the Avs are not in such a bad cap crunch that they could honestly just run back most of their current roster. After re-signing Malinsky, if you didn't move Miles Wood, he would be your Kiviranta replacement. You would just need a depth guy or two, an Ivan, Chris Wagner, whatever, but Jacob McDonald on defense, like those types of guys would need to fill out the bottom of your roster, and their roster would pretty much be done. Now, that doesn't make you any better. You haven't gotten any better if you do that, and that's why I'm not really in love with the idea of just standing pat, hanging on for dear life, and re-signing everybody.
Yeah, fair enough. I do want to get E's thoughts on it as well, but it's that time again. We do got to pay a couple of bills, so let's make sure we're getting over and taking care of that business, as we are brought to you by the folks over at Bet365. You can jump in with Bet365 today. They're an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche, so you can jump in with them there. They've got a bunch of different amazing offers. The NHL early payout offer. If you bet the Florida Panthers to win last night, you won your bet on Bet365. They got a 3-goal lead, and Bet365 will pay you out for that. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. You can jump in with them when you sign up with a new account and the code DNVR365. You put $10 in your account. You bet $5 on anything. Win or lose, you get $150 in bonus bets to play with. You can jump in with Bet365 and the DNVR365 code today. Bonus bets can be used to bet on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Of course, when you do gamble at Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. And, once you've made a little bit of money on Bet365, make sure you're heading on over to your local Toyota Front Range dealerships. Toyota, an official vehicle of us here at DNVR and an official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. They've got a vehicle for everyone, whether it be trucks, whether it be SUVs, sedans, you name it. They've got it all covered. And 17 different models with all-wheel or four-wheel drive available, including trucks or, SUVs. I like SUVs. I got dogs. All right. I gotta lug dogs around. So things like the 4Runner are the vehicle for me. Of course, they also have more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker. So it gives customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, even trucks like the Tundra iForce Max Hybrid. So go get with Toyota today. Visit your Front Range dealerships, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe, Centennial, Corbin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places. You've been traded a few times yourself. You're no stranger to this side of the game. When you're a Josh Manson or a Miles Wood during this offseason, do you have a pretty good sense of whether you're going to get traded or not?
100%. You usually know when you're going to get traded. I mean, again, it's common sense. And I said it the other day. The guys in that $4 to $5 million range on this roster know, like, it could be me, right? Because it's common sense. With that said, Miles Wood is not in that range, but he signed a contract here. Hasn't worked out the way he had anticipated. I don't think it worked out the way the Avalanche anticipated. Things change. Now, if you're Miles Wood, do you want this to, and again, we're assuming his health was not the best, right? So let's put that way. So we're not blaming Miles, you know what I mean? But at some point, he fell out of favor, with the coaches, and he ended up in Chateau Bow Wow, right? In the doghouse, and not dressed. Now, as a, well,
Chateau Bow Wow. It's very funny.
Yeah, Chateau Bow Wow. It's the doghouse. And whether it's fair or not, because I'm assuming there was an injury. Like, that's where you're at. That's where you finished the season. That's where you were a guy on the outside looking in. Now, with that said, you have a conversation at the end of the year. You have a meeting. Maybe they told him, we'd love to have, want you to come back, get healthy, and you're going to be in the, top 9 or whatever it is. I doubt that was the conversation. The conversation was more like about health, and then I don't know where you fit now. So now if you're him, you probably are wanting to have a change, right? I mean, you would think. So sometimes you want to change because it's like you had the choice. You came here. It didn't work out. I still got some in me. I still got some hockey left. I still got a contract left. Maybe it'd be better off if I went to play Boston. For me, he looks like a Bruin. He lives in Boston in the off season. So is there something, where you can make something happen there? So there's times you do expect it. Sometimes you do want it. And then sometimes you're caught off guard. Like, somebody was asking, like Chuck is saying, like, I got traded from Toronto to LA, and I thought it was the biggest slap in the face in my life, and I thought my life was over. I had played 5 games, I think, for Toronto, and I'm like, oh my Lord, this is the end. And it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. You know what I mean? Because it was a fresh start somewhere else. At Toronto, it was an old team, and they didn't really need me or want me, you know what I mean? And then you end up in a place where you're wanted, and that's the best thing that can happen. So again, I was early in my career, like I said. So that's one that I did enjoy, you know what I mean? And, but for Miles Wood, for guys like that, sometimes it's a tough summer because maybe you have kids and they're starting to go to preschool now and all that stuff. And you're like, man, am I really going to be here in September? So it weighs on you, it weighs on your family, it weighs on your wife, it weighs on your kids, Again, kids are kids. I'm not saying that unless they're older, which it's not the Avs problem. You know what I mean? So they don't have kids that way. But yeah, it's sometimes it's part of it. And sometimes you expect it. And sometimes, believe it or not, you're sad when it doesn't happen too. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you are wishing for one and it's not happening. And it's not a Duchesne, right? You have to wait for a bit. I'm just saying, so it's never cut dry. It's not a book on it. It's not, oh, this is how it works. Trades for dummies. You know what I mean? It doesn't exist. It's just they all take a life of their own, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's devastating. So a little bit of, but it's people's lives you're talking about, right? And that's the part people tend to forget. It's not just Xbox. Like, hey, it's you're uprooting people's lives. So
Honestly,
sometimes it stinks.
Trades for dummies maybe is what we should have called roast my roster segments.
Yes. Well, those books like Hockey for Dummies or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. We can move on a little bit because I do want to talk about this topic of it too. I know you can talk about this a lot, but I think it's becoming a more interesting conversation, especially we are seeing an unprecedented rise in the NHL salary cap over the next couple of years coming here. And certainly if you are pro player when it comes to things like contract negotiations and things like that, you can take a look at the unrestricted free agency age in the NHL and say 27 is fairly high. Even if it's before that, you have to play 7 years pro before you hit an unrestricted free agency. So if you start at 18, it could be as young as 25, but those guys never hit free agency anyway. They get wrapped up by their teams if they're any good. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on free agency in the NHL. Is it in a good spot? Do you think they should consider lowering the age, raising the age if you're a crazy person? I don't see any world where they raise their age of free agency, but no way the Player Association would go for that. But is free agency in the NHL competitive, fair, in a good place for the players, or do you think some of these rules need to change?
For my money, I think contracts are too long, but I'm curious what he has to say. Sorry.
No, you're perfect. What I was saying is you got to remember I'm a bit older, and when I was playing, and that was a big on one of those CBAs that there was a lockout on, and for me it was 31 years old UFA, right? You did not hit free agency until you were 31. And the Sakic's of the world, and that was the offer sheets and all that. Those were all in the heyday. For me, by the time I got 31, I dried up. Like I was awful. So it's like nobody was lined up for me. You know what I mean? I had to beg for a team at the end, and I didn't get it. So, so for me, I would have loved to have it at 27 because it would have been perfect. But it would have been right in my heyday. You know what I mean? And so I doubt that it will ever go above it. And I doubt that it would ever go below 27 because it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Unless you, like you said, you got in at 18, then it's 25 because it's 7 years. But I mean, for years it was 31 years old, right? Years. So I doubt it would ever move. I think it's the perfect sweet spot, 27 or 7 years once you get in at 18. So 25, yeah, I like where it's at. I wish it was at that point when I was playing because I'd be buying you a margarita today, so maybe from Mexico or something, but it'd be a lot more lucrative.
I mean, I think part of it is interesting. I don't think it's coincidence that you look at the UFA age when you played E and you look at the average age of the league and you look at the UFA age now and you look at the average age of the league, and the league is close to the youngest it's ever been over the last handful of years, as opposed to a much older league when you were in it. Now, absolutely, if you want to have the conversation of maybe we should be increasing the average age of the league a little bit. We've talked before on the show about maybe the draft age should be 19 or 20. It's a balance. You have to strike some level of balance there as the NHL. But also it does feel like you get stuck. A lot of teams get stuck with these deals. And I don't mean to dunk on Miles Wood here. That's not what I'm trying to do. But when players hit free agency at age 27, they know they basically get one big deal. And that's it. They have to get as much money or as much term as they possibly can on this one big deal. And it locks you into these deals, as AJ was talking about. The terms at times feel super duper long, stretching pretty much the rest of guys' careers. Whereas if you lowered that age a little bit, maybe there's a little bit more opportunity for a player can get a good deal from ages 25 to 28 and then get a deal in the middle of his prime too. To me, it feels like it just adds a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, and this, this is kind of just like my argument, I guess. Increasing the age of the draft, I think, would help. Lowering the maximum allowable contracts, I think, would be a really great thing for them to do too. Because when you talk about guys signing 6-year deals, especially the really, really good players coming off ELCs, they're all underpaid.
Yeah.
By the time that those contracts end, you're very rarely looking at a high-end player going, man, he's like, and why should players consistently leave that much money on the table? I would cap out contracts at 4 years for UFAs, and the 5th year is the extra one that you would give for teams to re-sign guys. I'm very pro player in this way, and guys.
I was gonna say,
like
you should work for the PA, not for a team. You're good.
Maximizing. I think guys maximizing their earnings is the good thing, and it's not. We're talking, the Nathan McKinnons of the world, making $100 million. That's great, but like the depth guys, I think would benefit from it too, because hey, everybody's getting paid in that world. Your cap is going up the way that it is. I don't know. I guess I've always viewed it as, I think that it would be awesome to see shorter contracts. I like locking these guys in. I don't know. I guess just I want to see players get paid, and I like the fun of off-season movement. Right? Like,
here's a negative example for the Avs, right? What if Sam Malinsky was a free agent right now? Would some team float him a $2.5 million deal because they think he can do it? For Sam Malinsky, he's making more money this offseason if he's an unrestricted free agent. He just is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I also think 4 years of RFA is too much. Like, it's the old 7-27 rule where, you've been in the league for 7 years, then you get, whichever happens first, you're in the league for 7 years or you turn 27. For me, I don't know. 4 years of RFA is too much. I don't know why you need more than 2.
By any normal path to the NHL, and there are late blossomers and things that buck the trend, but for every normal path to the NHL, you're talking about a full ELC and a bridge deal, and you're still an RFA.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Your UFA contract could be your 3rd or 4th contract in the NHL if you're not one of these guys getting locked up to these big deals. So
yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, I think really maybe my strongest feeling is increasing the draft age from 18 to 19. You phase it out. You take like 3 years to fully phase it in, where you move back the draft age like 4 months every couple. That way, it's not just like, oh, hey, this was your draft year, and now you're not getting drafted. Sorry, like you just move it back a couple of months until you reach that extra year, and then it's all 19-year-olds. Because that's another part of this is that draft picks are valuable, but you see how many teams even within a year are like, oh God, what have we done?
Yep.
Would Oscar Olausson still have been a first-round pick after his D+1 season? No,
Probably not.
because
No.
he came to North America in the OHL import draft and was bad.
Well, shouldn't have been a first round pick in his draft year anyway, but that's a topic for different day.
I get it, but I would. I don't, this is like a super August show that I'm starting to take us into, and I don't mean to do that.
I mean, we're about to go full August because our next topic is most cursed moments in Avalanche history, since it is Friday the 13th after all.
Yeah.
I have a bunch that I have locked and loaded, but if you guys have any that really stand out, go ahead and shout out the most cursed moments in Avalanche history.
You're like, you guys are like
Statue of Liberty.
It's in my top 3. Yeah, that's in my top 3.
I'm sorry, it's Statue of Liberty. That's a haunting moment in Avalanche history. Yeah. Walt thinks he has the puck covered. He's trying to show it off to everybody because he was an arrogant dick, and it blew up in his face and came like one of the like big, like iconic moments of that rivalry and how Detroit won it.
Yep.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you guys are like my two boys, like you guys like horror movies. I like rom-coms, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what I do. I like rom-coms. But you guys like horror movies, so I'm gonna sit back and listen, and I can't even think of I can't think like that. I'm scared. But yeah, the Statue of Liberty was a tough play. I know it was bothering him for a while too.
The Steve Moore incident isn't really a cursed play, more of like a black mark on the league as a whole. But
on my list for sure, yeah.
Yeah, the Steve Moore incident has to be there. I would Philip Grubauer's last game as an Av kind of feels like a cursed game to me.
It's certainly that first goal against, extremely cursed. Yeah.
Still don't think I've seen an NHL goaltender before or since lose track
know
of
where the puck is entirely. Yeah.
Lose track of a routine play. We've seen, you remember Sam Girard scored a goal in Buffalo a couple years ago where the puck,
not a single player
nobody in the arena knew where it was except Sam Girard, and everybody was like, "Wait, what the hell was that?" Like, that was a weird goal.
I loved that game. I felt so Girard's vindicated for that game because I was one of the only people in the room that saw it. I was like, "Sam has it! Sam has it! I swear!"
It was such a weird moment. It was such a cool thing, right? But not. I mean, the most basic puck going from the corner out to the point, and Philip Grubauer's just looking at the corner while the puck is going in the net, and you're like, "What the hell, dude? This is an elimination game." In the because Colorado, the skaters played really well in that game, and Philip Grubauer, whatever. That was pretty cursed. This last game has to feel pretty cursed. The last couple game 7s they've been in, the Seattle game obviously was cursed because they tied that game in the third period.
His own net. Yeah.
Ben Myers punches it into his own net to get it going. Arturi Lehkonen is offside to take the game-tying goal off the board. Then the game 7 against San Jose, you have the whole Landeskog. He's getting onto the bench. Is he as part of the playing surface still? Is he offside? Is it definitive? That game-tying goal comes, it was a game-tying goal, comes off the board, and then Jonas Donskoi scores what would become the game winner a minute later. Those are cursed. This last game 7 is gonna haunt me for years. There are some cursed moments here.
Yeah, there's a lot. Someone in chat shouted out the Cale Makar cutting Landeskog's knee. Obviously, very familiar with that. But also, that one is even more cursed, by the way, if you didn't go watch our Q&A with Landeskog that we did. Not only is the situation itself cursed, but Landy has to reenact it every week in his basement with his son. So, extremely cursed.
That's sick.
I have a few more. one, and like obviously this won the Avs a Stanley Cup in the long run, and things worked out. But Matt Duchene skating across the ice in New York to be traded, it finally happening in the middle of a game, a pretty cursed type of moment, just in general.
Well, do you remember, like, he was skating over there, and I don't remember who else went off the ice at the same time.
Como.
And it was like,
it was Como, yeah.
Okay, and then it was like, well, they're friends, so like maybe he's helping him, and it was like, what do you mean? Maybe he's helping? What are you talking about? Maybe he has to poop? Like, what's happening here? No, just don't.
Yep.
Was that when the Islanders were in Brooklyn?
I thought it was in Nassau, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna go Brooklyn. Maybe I'm wrong.
I believe you guys would know better than me. My locations are terrible. That happens. And then you add in the post-game interviews and extremely cursed in a lot of ways, but you know, maybe it was Matt Duchene who was cursed, not the Avs on that one. Then I agree with the Statue of Liberty save being maybe the most cursed moment, but the most cursed season culminating in the one cursed play that represents the most cursed season the most, ironically involving Blake Como and Matt Duchene again, the Blake away. It even has a name. It has a name. It was so bad.
I'm so mad at myself that I forgot the Blake away.
That was unreal.
I can still hear Mike Haynes' like unbelievably confused voice going, "Try to drop it to the trailer."
God. Oh, the Blake away. It was all it was all worth it, obviously, but oh my God.
It's rough out there.
Dude. I don't have anything to add about the Blake away other than
it stands on its own.
I can't believe that happened. I also from that entire season, like there are so many things from that season that I'm.
Oh yeah.
You know, the poor Calvin Pickard giving up 3 goals to the Calgary Flames that all bounced off of stuff. Not like a deflection or something, but like one of them bounces off the back wall and then back over the net and off his nameplate and in, and you were like, what? Like Francois Beauchemin accidentally kicking and deflecting and shooting pucks
different
into his
goals
own net. Yeah. Like that guy individually was cursed that season. Like that was tough. Solani Korea. Jeez, I just combined their name. I just shipped them. Korea and Solani together. The injuries that they had their 1 year in Colorado felt a little cursed. That felt a little bit like the hockey gods being like, "Oh, you're hubris." So that wasn't great.
I have 2 more, and then I'm curious if E has any from his time with the Avs. Number 1, this year, 49 players. By the way, that's a ridiculous amount. Yeah, if you count playoffs, technically 50.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's all of the contracts that you can have. That's the contract maximum.
Your whole organization.
Guys, but yeah,
got a game.
And then blurst or cursed. Matt Duchene's goal celebration and Patrick Waugh's response.
Big cheer. What is that?
Well, what is that? What is that?
The disgust in his voice. Oh my God, dude. I remember sitting in that presser going, "Oh my God. Oh my God." I looked at Terry Fry like, "Oh my God. Is this normal for coaches to do this? What's happening?"
That was unreal. I got one for you.
Yeah, go for it.
It's more like a cursed moment, but it happened at Pepsi Center at the time. Because remember when Steve Sullivan got hit by the puck and the guy was making fun of him because he was like,
Yeah.
and then that same guy gets hit by the puck. What are the odds in the stands? And he's bleeding and Sullivan's looking at him like that was unbelievable. You're talking about a moment like
cursed or is that karma?
Well, exactly. It's one of the two.
That guy kind of had it coming.
There's definitely some voodoo there, though.
Oh, yeah. My Lord. What are the odds? That's about, I mean, again, like I said to you, like,
what about
trying to...
the close calls that Patrick Waugh had on scoring an empty net goal?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, did he want to score one? Oh.
Had one that stopped right there on the goal line. Like, Patrick Waugh's quest to score a goal was cursed.
He always wanted to freaking, like, in practice, and he was always shooting pucks because Brodeur was so good at it, right? Patty's such a competitor, and that's one distinct thing that Brodeur was much better at than Patty was. Puck moving and shooting the puck, right? And so Patty always wanted to work on it. Practice. It was funny. He was cursed. He wasn't going to score a goal, that's for sure. He wanted it so bad that it was never going to happen. So he wasn't going to get the 30 like Dutchy.
Yeah, it's so close. I wanted this to be on Friday the 13th, but it's not. The year you almost scored 20. Your last goal did come on a Friday.
I got cursed there. I was at 18. I can remember like yesterday. I was at 18 with 18 to go. 18 with 18 to go. And I had won that night. And I remember like it was yesterday. I don't remember who it was against. And then I saw John Clem, good old Clemmer, on the far right. I was on the ice. We must have been up by 2 or 3 because I shouldn't have been on the ice. And because I was never out there for empty netters. And everyone was saying, shoot. And I was like, yeah, I'll be the good guy. I gave it to Clemmer. Clemmer went in and put it in the empty net, And everybody was giving me crap after the game. Jean Martineau was giving me crap, the PR guy for the Avs. What are you doing? And I'm like, buddy, I said, settle down, fella. I got 18 games left. I'm good. I went 0 for 18. I went 0 for in the first round. I think I went 26 games without one. I think in the round 2 against Edmonton, I finally potted one. That was cursed. And I had a bonus back then at 20. I don't remember what it was. But we had individual bonuses, whatever. I don't know. It was like 40 or 50 grand, whatever. God, I couldn't bury one. I got stuck at 18. I shouldn't have passed it to Clemmer. That's the moral of the story. Just be a bad guy, be a hog, and put it in the net. Don't be a team guy.
Just be a bad guy.
I will say, the Avs could have used you this year. Your last goal, that 18th goal, you know which team it came against?
I don't remember.
Dallas.
Was it Dallas? God.
It was Dallas.
Yeah, it was a sick one, too, just so you know.
Oh, I bet. Top corner,
I bet you Ludwig.
No doubt about it.
Ludwig. Yeah, Ludwig. The LLS couldn't contain me, and then probably just, buried it. I'm kidding. I don't remember. But
made the game 3-2, and you guys went on to lose that game 6-2. So
you know what would be some fun off-season content?
Well, before you say that, we are headed into overtime. Come join us on the DNVR.com online where the conversation will continue. All right. What would be good content?
I think a 1v1 E versus Luds breakaway challenge.
Not a chance. He would have stopped me. This guy was so good. Old rules? No chance. Can opener, big stick, cross check, slash. No chance. I stand no chance.
Not a chance he would have stopped me as long as he could cheat.
No chance. Those guys were so good back then, so dirty, it was impossible to get there. You would think, like Joel Quenneville, I play with Joel. You would go and practice, and you're playing, and you think you got him one-on-one. Next thing you know, I don't know, you got hooked one part of your elbow, and then the puck's gone in the corner, and you're like, what the hell was that? What happened here? Those guys were so good. That's why guys like Lutz played forever. You know what I mean? They were unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Alyssa in chat saying not cursed, but do you think the announcer who said he didn't think Cale would be NHL caliber while he was being drafted feels haunted by that moment? Probably not. That's definitely a big miss, but I don't know. In this line of work, everyone's wrong all the time.
And also remember that the AJHL
was not a normal development league back then. Yeah,
produces a first-round pick once a decade. It's just not a place that you get a lot of guys from. And Cale was helped greatly by the fact that 2017 class was not very good. At the time, we talked about it. It was like, this is kind of a blah year. Nico Hischier was the 18th ranked player in the preseason, ended up going first. And Timothy Liljegren was the top defender coming in, and he got mono, of all things, that tanked his stock. And then Makar and Heiskanen both had that was the year that they had the incorrect measurements at the combine.
Yeah, they had to remeasure everybody. Yeah,
whoever they did the measurements with did it with shoes on, and so it was Miro Heiskanen was suddenly 6'2". Yeah, it was. Yeah, Cale Makar was suddenly well over 6 feet tall, and you were like, "What the hell is going on here?" And how are all these guys? And then nobody knew. It was such a strange draft year. And then, this guy from the AJHL who never had to play defense, and was going to UMass, not BU, Boston College, Denver, North Dakota, UMass, which had won 4 games the year prior. It was such a strange confluence of events where you were like, everything about this guy is so high risk. And Rudo, you just said it a minute ago that in this business, we all people come and watch our shows and read our content and watch the videos, all the stuff that we do. We all have guys that we've been so wrong about. I didn't like Cale Makar mid-season of that year. It took me sitting down and going through every one of his games after the year, which finding AJHL film from back then was a nightmare. I had to do so much groundwork to do that. And it's funny to laugh about now, oh yeah, good call, fella. But at the time there was so much risk involved in him. And that draft class has become really good.
Yeah.
And the guy that was largely thought of as the guy all season long was Nolan Patrick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Such a strange class to go from all of those things. That it's a weak draft. All right, now it's produced, Hischier is a star center. Should win a Selke someday. Would be a number 1 center if it weren't for Jack Hughes. Cale Makar, Miro Heiskanen are 2 of the top 5 defensemen in the NHL. Elias Pettersson, it's ended up being a really good draft class.
But redrafting stuff like that is so crazy, right? Obviously, Nolan Patrick isn't even in the first round because of all the injury issues he had. You go down the list. Cody Glass went 6th overall, and everyone thought whoa, that's crazy that he fell to 6.
Yeah.
No, it would not happen that way. You go down the list. Owen Tippett dropped to 10. I loved Owen Tippett in that draft class.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved him. Velarde dropped to 11. There were injury issues there, obviously, but
back problems. He was a top 5 guy all year, except for the back problems right before the draft.
It's wild. And this is forget us on a podcast. This is professional scouts that are whiffing on these guys. So it's really, really hard.
Well, and the number of guys that have come through Colorado from that class too, really interesting because obviously Cale Makar, but Casey Middlestat, Martin Necas, and Eric Brandstrom, all from that class.
What do I got to do to get Valimaki?
Yeah. You know the answer. I mentioned POJ earlier, not even knowing we were going to talk about this, but that's another guy. I forgot about Shane Bowers
down there.
Yeah, forgot about Shane Bowers.
Pretty
man.
cursed. His 3 minutes as an Av.
I'll tell you a funny story from that draft. I actually don't know. The Avs had the first pick of the second round and spent all night resisting trade calls on it, and then took Connor Timmins. I had worn shoes. It was my first time ever covering a draft. I'd bought new dress shoes for it, and I wore them around Chicago. I had the worst blisters on my feet.
Yeah.
The Avs drafted Connor Timmins. Thank God. That was the last prospect that they drafted all day who was at the draft. So I could just sit back in the risers and just write and do nothing else the rest of the day. Oh, it was so nice.
I got one last cursed moment, and we'll get out of here. And this one is not meaningful in any way. It was a nothing game in the regular season. Ended up meaning nothing in that year. I just can't remember that many instances of the league apologizing to a team, sending out a letter. The Avs played the St. Louis Blues. They ended up losing the game because they scored a goal that was deemed offside incorrectly by the War Room in Toronto. They got it wrong. And the Avs lost the game. And then the next day or the day after, the league sent out a letter of yeah, sorry, Avs, we screwed that up. That play should have counted.
I remember that.
Oof. It's wild out here.
Kurt, can we include the 2019 draft lotto as cursed?
Sure.
Cool. Oh, somebody had to bring the big gun here. The Valentine's Day massacre where Peter Forsberg retired right before his home debut.
Yeah.
And then the Avs lost, 8-1 that night?
Something like that, yeah.
Rom-com, buddy. Not horror movies, rom-coms.
I mean, I'm with you in general. It's just Friday the 13th.
Okay, what's your favorite rom-com in hockey?
Youngblood, isn't it? Come on. That's a love story, no? Youngblood?
No, I mean in literal, the NHL.
I don't know. I have to think about that one.
I bet Landy and Melissa are probably up there.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. Wayne and Janet, right? Wayne and Janet. There you go.
I don't watch hockey rom-coms, let alone any rom-coms. I got no good answer for this.
How about Sean Monahan waiting in the tunnel for Johnny Gaudreau to come off?
Yeah,
the series winner.
Yeah, now we're talking. All right, AJ, you're the man. I like that one.
That moment always hit me so hard.
Yep. Also, they beat Dallas, so that's all.
Somebody has to.
It's not the Avs. The Avs can't do it, so somebody's got to.
we outsource that. Sorry.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us for a fun little Friday show. We are back Monday. It should be a fun week. It's Spirit Week next week at DNVR, so go get your favorite DNVR shirts. We're gonna be doing a bunch of stuff for a great cause too. So tune in next week. Come have a good time with us. We appreciate you all. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, and we'll see you on Monday, I guess.
We all silly like the mayor.